Hey, and welcome to this live, I guess, live video where I'm going to be explaining the COVID-19 or coronavirus business relief loan and what the SBA and the federal government or the federal government and the SBA work, I guess, working in conjunction. They're the same entity, or however you're going to call that. But the initiatives that have been put in place and how it trickles down to you, the small business owner, so that you're able to stay afloat and manage your business and hopefully kind of support the economy so that things don't get too crazy. As it stands now, a lot of small business owners have been grossly affected by coronavirus, COVID-19. And it's not discriminating against any business at all. I myself am in the home healthcare business. I'm also in the real estate investing and development business, and the shared office space business, or co-working business. And also I'm exposed to the tourism business in the form of my Airbnb little side hustle. And all have been affected, with real estate being affected the most. My home care business is being affected because employees are displaced. Some employees are not working because their patients don't want them to be serviced, or don't want to be serviced by them because they're using mass transportation to get to work. They're concerned with contracting coronavirus, so they're suspending services. So my business, home care, is taking a hit, but we do have our great home health aides working, our nurses working, trying to provide services to those who are in need and chronically ill. And what this video is going to be covering is, I guess the synopsis of the conversation that I had with my accountant, who advised me on how to approach the funding that's available. He had sent out a news blast saying that, hey, if anybody needs to know how to capture the funding, please call in. We had a 30-minute conversation on the details of the program and how to best utilize it. So without further delay, this is what it is. Oh, actually, one more delay. If you're not already a subscriber to ENTP Life, here on ENTP Life, we discuss mostly real estate, business in general, and anything else that I may be interested in. As an ENTP, I have a lot of interest. So those interests are sprinkled in from time to time, such as travel, aviation, what it's like to be a pilot, and like I said, anything else that really comes to mind. So if you're not already a subscriber, please make sure you subscribe to this channel if that kind of information is useful to you, or if you find the information in this live stream useful to you. All right, so essentially there's three phases of this program, right? The disaster relief program. The first phase is the most immediate and I guess easy to get, but also the smallest. The first phase is a $10,000 grant. And that $10,000 grant is meant to just help you cover some immediate overhead, maybe cover your rent payment, cover whatever expense that you need to cover right now in the next 3 to 4 days. It might be assistance with your payroll, anything along those lines. So if you need that, then you go to the SBA.gov website. When you go to the top, there's a little banner that says, COVID-19 disaster relief. You click that, and there's an application that you need to fill out, which is obviously the starting point. This is where you need to start if you need any other COVID funds. So you start with that, right? On that application, it's asking you the size of your company, so some other details. They're going to be asking you about some of your financial information, what was your gross revenue from the previous year, etc. But that first $10,000 that you're applying for should hit you in 3 to 4 business days, as it was explained to me. So I'm going to be out there applying for that after I get off this live. I should have probably done it first, but I'm going to be applying for that for my affected businesses. The second phase is actually pretty interesting, and I think what's going to be most helpful and most realistic the most realistic use for many of the businesses that have been affected. The second scenario, or the second phase, is you're able to get a forgivable loan of up to 2.5 times your monthly payroll. So for my home care company, which does a good amount of payroll per month, I'm going to be able to get 2.5 times that. So if we averaged, I don't know, 500,000 or $600,000 in payroll per month last year, I'll be able to get up to 2.5 times that. So if it's 600 per month, I'm going to be able to get 1.5 million, right? So obviously I'm applying for that. And what happens there is that they're expecting that money to help you float your payroll and pay employees, so that they're not out of work, and or even to get them back into work as you're getting geared up again. So it's 2.5 months of relief. Now that becomes a loan, but it's forgivable if you prove that you spent it all on the approved expenses. So the approved expenses are your payroll, right? Which is the main concern, is they want to keep people working. Your rent or your mortgage obligations for your facility, and your overhead utilities, right? So if you took that money at 2.5 times and you paid, maybe two months worth of payroll plus the other 0.5 for your overhead, if it's that high, or your workers' comp, or whatever else it is, your necessary expenses, all of that will be forgiven, as long as you show them that's what you paid. If not, it converts into a term loan, at fairly low interest, which I think might be around 4% or so. And that is kind of like a streamlined SBA loan. It doesn't necessarily require, like a major application. I think you would have to go in with whatever data. I think it's supposed to be quick. You go in with whatever data you have, and you show and you make your case, and it's probably going to be your payroll records. It's going to probably be your workers' compensation estimates, and your overhead costs that you can prove that this is what you've been paying over the past year. And that's part of the application as well. They're going to ask for your trailing 12 months. They're going to want to see what the trailing 12 months look like, so they can give you an average and say, okay, this is where you stand, right? So that's the second phase, which I think is the most useful, and quickest thing. And from what I gathered, it should be 1 week to 10 days or 10 business days before those funds are dispersed. All right. And now the third piece of this disaster relief is, a typical SBA loan. So I guess there's a certain amount of funding that has been set aside by the SBA to just fund, I guess, small businesses or mid-sized businesses, depending on where you fall, as long as you're under that 500 employee mark, and that's 500 full-time employees. So a home care agency like mine, I might have 60 to 70% of my employees as full-time, while the other 30% are part-time. And if I had 500 even, right, I would really only have 350 employees full-time. And then my part-time employees might either be flexed down in half or something along those lines, to make sense of the numbers. And then I would fall under the 500. So same with, like, if you own a security company where you have some employees that are full-time, some that are part-time, depending on the shift work that they get, that would apply for you too. So don't think that you're ruled out because you're over 500. If you're over 500, just really start looking at your full-time to part-time and seeing what you can do to qualify with that number. But the traditional SBA loan is going to be kind of a full doc loan. This is not a forgivable loan. It will be for expense coverage and working capital to rebuild your business and kind of get yourself afloat. So it's traditional, but I think it's just more money that's being earmarked for that purpose. So that's like another push of money into the economy. So I guess the first phase is like immediate what do I need to pay right now, that $10,000, then 2.5 times your monthly payroll so that you are able to kind of help your employees so that they're able to make their bills, so that the economy still moves, everybody's still getting their payments. And then you just resume back to business as well as you can after everything phases out and people are getting better and the curve of infections is going down. Life can resume, and it's not devastation of zero revenue for 2.5 months. And then the third bit is, hey, I'm trying to revive my business. I need more money. I'm going to push. I want to apply for this third phase of money so that I could grow my business or take advantage of opportunities that presented due to this shakeout. I would imagine that I don't know how much was released. I probably should have looked that up first before starting this live, but I might add it in the description below to say, how much the government has released in this phase of funding. I think for some reason the number 2 trillion is in my mind. I don't know how much of that 2 trillion is being administered by the SBA. Let's just say it's 500 billion. I don't know. That's a good amount of money, but obviously when it's used up, it's used up. So you should be moving kind of quickly to take full advantage of it. So like I said, the very next thing that I'm going to do is start working on my applications so that I don't miss out on this relief and this help. Like I said, apply for it. Some of the things that you might want to look out for is that, for me, I own multiple businesses, right? So my accountant advised me to just start my initial application because they're asking for the principal owners. So if you are one of the principal owners, they may not honor kind of double dipping, I guess. But then again, they might, because those are 2 separate businesses, right? I have 2 completely separate businesses with different employees. They're unrelated. Both are going to be affected. But to play it safe, you might want to go with, the biggest company that you have so that, you're able to get as much of the money as possible rather than being disqualified because you're trying to capture, $10,000 or $15,000 for this smaller business like my Airbnb business, which is not huge. I might not apply for relief for that company, but I will be applying for relief for my real estate investment firm because I have projects that are, under construction. I have interest to be paid. I have all my rental properties, my shared office space, my homes that are being rented that I already know that, tenants are not planning on paying me. So I'm most likely going to still apply for that just to make sure that I'm not bleeding all of my cash reserves. So I think that's quite good. But things that you're going to need to know to apply, the number of employees that you have, you're going to need to know that. You're going to also need to know your gross revenue from February 1st, 2019 through January 31st, 2020. That's the look back period. Okay. So go over your financial statements, go over your accounting records and determine what was your gross sales. And you're going to need to know what's the cost of goods and services, your COGS, right? So depending on what your business type is or what your business class is, your cost of goods and services are going to be obviously your employees, your equipment cost, your textiles, if you're into textiles, because you're selling clothing. So those would be your cost of goods and services. They should already be itemized out in your financial statement. So it should be easy to identify. And there may be a few other questions. I know there was one question that he said is about additional expenses. He said, for my type of business, don't include that. So I'm just not. And that's pretty much it. If you need any advice, I would consult with your accountant or some other professional who's kind of really reviewed the policies and guidelines. My accountant is Peter Hall. They're based out of Long Island, New York. And, he took the time out to talk to me as one of his clients to advise me on, what I should be doing. That was his advice to me. He's not charging a fee for that for me because I'm already a client, or maybe he is. I don't know. We didn't talk about fees, but I wouldn't be surprised if I get charged for the call. Actually, now that I think about it, but it was well worth it because it was very informative and allowed me to know what I need to do, and as well is allowing me to tell other people that are in my community how they should navigate this and what they need to do. So go over to sba.gov, start your application if it affects you. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for joining me here in this live sequence. Once again, if you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe. Make sure you turn your notification bell on. Like this video, of course, and questions, comments, I'll be always willing to help out. And Dory, good morning and goodbye, because I'm logging out. Thank you.